some reloading. Pardon the brightness. I'm out in my garage with the garage door open and the sun's blaring right in. But today we're going to be reloading some 380 pistol. The other day my uncle contacted me. He, due to some circumstances out of his control, he had to get out of reloading. He sold his equipment and he still had some brass and some powder and tips and things left over, and he asked if I can reload some 380 for him, and I figured it would be a great way to do a video, show you guys how we reload 380. So here we go. Okay, we're going to get all of our load data today from the Lyman 49th edition book. We're going to be using unique smokeless powder, CCI 500s for the small pistol primers. We're going to be using Sierra 95 grain full metal jackets number 8105. And one thing that I'm kind of excited about, I've never done these before, used this brass, but my uncle bought all of his brass from Midway. And if you haven't bought brass from Midway before, they've already, well, that one's got primer in it, but they come deprimed. Look how clean the primer pockets are. So that's going to save us a step. We don't have to decap them or clean them, but I'm going to go ahead and still set up the sizing die just to make sure that they're all sized. The dies we're going to use today are the Lyman. Well, I've got some of them set up already, but it's just a Lyman 4-piece carbide die set. We're going to be using a headspace gauge for the 380 to use it as a go, no-go gauge. And let's take you over to the press. Alright, we're over at the T-Mag press. We're going to use a, I don't know if this is a Lyman shell plate. No, it's a Lee number 4 shell plate. And I've got the decapper slash sizing die, but I took the decapping ram out of there because all I'm going to do is just to make sure they're resized. Alright, we're going to start off with this station 1. I'm going to bring the ram up. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. And just slowly bring this shell or the die down until it hits. There. Then lock it down. Okay, that is set. Now, because this is a carbide die set, I shouldn't have to, sorry, I'm just getting stuff ready. I shouldn't have to lubricate these brass. And I'm just gonna, I'm losing stuff everywhere. Okay, we'll go ahead and resize some of these. Now normally we would have to be depriming these too, but all I'm doing is just making sure that they are resized. So I'll go through and do 100 of these or so, and we'll see at the next step. Okay, now that we got all of the cases sized, it's time to prime them. I'm going to take this decapping tray off. And on this little Lyman, I'm going to put the powder, or the primer seating tool, I guess you call it, in. Okay, that's in. Now I'm going to rotate the turret around. Nope. And I'm going to use the small pickup tube, which is this one. And we'll go pick up some primers. Alright, we've got all of our primers facing the same way. And what we're going to do now is pick them up with the tube. If I can get there. We're just going to pick them up like so. Alright, I got a piece of brass in the holder. I'm going to raise the ram, push the primer seating tool in, and just use a little bit of force to seat that primer. And then this arm will slip back, pick up a new primer, and the primer was seated. Put it over here. Do a couple more. And this is basically the easy way, or not easy, but this press is a great beginner's press. It's a great one to learn on. Whoop, I just dropped a primer. Push it down in. There it is. This is why I like doing batches of maybe 50 to 100 on a press like this. I'm dropping primers for some reason. And that should be recessed just a little bit down in there. Alright, I'll go through and do the rest of these. And we'll meet you at the next station. Alright, we just finished priming them all. Here's the tray of them, all primed. Whoop. Now what we're going to do is insert the bullet, the case flaring die. Guess we'll just screw it down all the way until it reaches the top of the ram. And then they said on the instructions, once it touches, back it off one full turn and then lock it down. Okay. Now let's take this priming tool off of here. Here's the case, here's a bullet, doesn't quite want to go, so we'll take it in another half a turn, maybe quarter turn. It's starting to, a little bit more. A little bit more. I'm only going a quarter turn at a time. Oh, I felt that. Maybe just one more. Okay. Oh yeah. It starts going in there. That's about what I want. You don't want to flare it too much because it will lessen the life of the brass, meaning you won't be able to reload as many times per brass. And I think that would be perfect the way we've got it. So I'll do another one. Oh, sorry. And all that's doing is just flaring that mouth. Flaring it just to accept the bullet. Do a couple more. Now if I wanted to, this particular die, I could set a funnel on top and pour the powder down through. But I'm not in a big hurry to get these done. I like doing my steps each one at a time on these little presses. Okay, I will go through, do all of these, and we'll meet you at the powder dumping station next. Alright, one thing that I forgot to mention is the overall length. Usually on these pistols, you don't have to trim them much. And in this book it says you have to trim it to 677 thousandths. And I went through and checked them. And they're 677 thousandths on the money. So if you go to check yours and they are oversized, you do have to trim them before you put the primers in. But now we're going to put the load in of the unique, and our starting point, I don't know if you can see this, is 2.3 grain with a maximum of 3.1 grain. So we'll go over to the powder measure drop and start loading these up. Okay, what I like to do is I like to zero out my piece of brass. And then I'm going to put the shot or the load into the brass and then remeasure it. And we'll go over and measure. So I go to 2.3 to 3.1, and that's 2.7. I'm going to 2.8. I'm going to leave it right there. So I'm going to zero out another piece of brass. Drop a charge. 2.7. Now I want to talk a little bit about this particular powder that I'm using. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I'll try to zoom in a little bit on this powder. It's what they call a flake powder. There you go. They're little flakes, and I typically like to use the BB style. And the flake style, I've noticed this style of powder measure, the RCBS, actually works better dropping that style than my Lyman. The Lyman for some reason has a hard time dropping that flake powder. So for any of you that have the Lyman, you might want to think about using a ball style powder, or if the RCBS, it works great with this flake. So I'm going to do a couple more. Going to zero out my brass. That's a little bit on the low, so I'm going to redo it. With pistols, I like to check every five pieces. So it's still on the low, so I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. Redo that. Make sure that this does read 0. That was off a little bit. That may have been the reason why it read off. .1. I shouldn't have adjusted it, but it's still within. It's on the high side, but I'll back it off, and I will continue these, finish them all out, and we'll be back for when we seat the bullets. Alright, I got all of the brass. I got them all. I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but they're all charged. So now we're going to move back over to the press, and we're actually going to set up for 2 operations. We're going to seat the bullet, and we're also going to crimp the bullet. Now we're going to, let me rotate the turret around. I'm going to keep all of these dies set up in the turret, because I'm going to probably come back and do some more brass for my uncle. Once it's set up, it should be pretty easy. Alright, now that that's there, I'm going to back it off 1 full turn. Oh, maybe. Okay, there's 1 full turn. And I'm also going to back off the bullet seating die itself, or the bullet seating, and we will get. Actually, I just read the instructions, and on this particular one we have to back it off 3 turns, and I moved it out 1, so we're going to go 2, 3. Make sure you read the instructions, they're all different. And I'm going to back out the bullet seating portion of it too, that's on top. So now let's get a, I'm going to readjust the camera too. I'm going to put the brass in, put the bullet in, raise the ram, and I'm just going to screw down the bullet seating portion until I could feel it touching. Right there. I could feel it touching right there. Now we're going to grab the calipers, and it says to take it to an overall of 900 thousandths. And we're at 1 inch 20 thousandths. So I'll raise the or turn the top knob just a little bit, quarter turn. You might have to do this a bunch of times. Not only a quarter turn moved it 20 thousandths. So I want to move it a half a turn. Drop the brass. Okay, I'm going to check it. 974. Adjusted it in a little bit. Recheck it. I'll keep doing this until I get it to 900. It's at 950. $940. Adjust it a little bit more on top. What's it binding on? $925. $920. $910. Now I'm just going to go little itty bitty. Well, that just $905. $903. $900. Okay, so now that that's set, now I'm going to set the crimping die. I don't know if you saw that or not. I moved the turret over. Now I'm going to screw in the crimping die. Alright, we're going to adjust the crimping die. We're going to bring the ram all the way up. And then we're going to just do it till it barely touches. There. And tighten it down. Now we're going to back off the crimping portion up on top. Put a bullet in, raise it up. I'll bring the bullet crimping portion down, this top portion down until you can feel it touch. because we flared them before, they wouldn't go inside this case length gauge or headspace gauge. And now because I just crimped it, I brought back that flare and it fits inside that headspace gauge nicely. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit more. Now this is where it gets confusing. I got to rotate the turret over to seat the bullet. Now we're going to crimp the bullet. Check the overall length again. We're at 902. So I can just bring that in just a little bit. Check the headspace gauge and it drops in. I'll do one more and I won't crimp it, and we'll see if the headspace gauge even goes. Let me tighten this down. If I can stop dropping them. Yeah, see, I just put that in and it doesn't go all the way. So that tells me it's still flared. And we'll crimp it now. That dropped in nice. I'll do a couple more. Rotate the turret. So this is almost a progressive. It's kind of an in-between between a single press and a progressive. And I'll check one more here. 900 thousandths on the money. Here's the headspace gauge. And it fits in beautiful. Guys, well that's my, hopefully it wasn't too long, my small video or short vid on reloading 380 A.C.P. Hope you guys found something interesting in this video and you learned something. I learned that if you buy your brass from Midway, you have to, or you alleviate some of the steps. You don't have to deprime them, you don't have to clean them. It's a good way to get your brass. So thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.